I will.
I'm going to give D a minute here. So D, you missed that Wednesday will be the 73rd birthday of Mark Farner. Hello, everybody. Happy Sunday. Welcome back to Geezerology Gazette. There's Dan and Bob up in the great Midwest. I'm down here in the tropics in South Florida. And we're here to tell you a little bit about what's been happening this week in the world of music news. Take it away, Bobby.
All righty. Thank you, Scotty. And Dan, good to see you again.
Likewise, Bob.
All right. So those of us of a certain age remember what it was like when we bought physical music. When you brought that big 12-inch square album cover home, platter hit the turntable. If you were really into music, you usually spent time poring over that album cover, reading liner notes, noting who produced the music, who played on it, who guest artists, things like that. And if you were with your buddies, everybody would pass that album cover around and then pass their pipe around while they were doing it. And a lot of times you could even make music purchases based on like, hey man, that's so and so from that other album and everything. So there's a bunch of names that those of us who've been around for a while are going to recognize. Waddy Wachtel, Leland Sklar, Russ Kunkel, Danny Korchmar, and Steve Postel. And these veterans of the music industry, guys who did session work and were touring musicians, have formed their own band now called the Immediate Family. And they've cut an album, they've released a single off of it, and they're going on tour starting November 3rd in California. I've listened, to the single off of it. It's nothing that's going to set the world on fire, but it's really competent, straight ahead, guitar-driven rock with some really good licks and stuff in it. So these are, 5 guys that really know the business. So
yeah, that's definitely some liner notes material there. Yeah, that's mostly how I know these guys. Is like reading the liner notes of Roxy Music albums and Leland Sklar. Played with a couple of Post Morrison Doors albums I remember, and a couple of the other names I recognize. I can't really place them though. That'd be cool. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, and Waddy Wachtel, Jesus played with probably just about everybody. Not only in the studio, but he went on tour with them. Linda Ronstadt, Andrew Gold, all kinds of people.
Yeah, I specifically remember him. He played on the early Brian Ferry solo albums. I remember. Yeah.
So, yay for the old guys. Carlos Santana and Steve Winwood, and they have teamed up for a cover of Procol Harum's Whiter Shade of Pale. And it's the 3rd single from Carlos Santana's upcoming LP titled Blessings and Miracles. And I've listened to the cover. It's fairly faithful to the original from Procol Harum, but of course, Carlos adds some Latin influences to it. And it's a pretty good track, and interesting for those two to get together to do that.
This is going to be on, did you say it was going to be on Santana, on an upcoming Santana album?
Yeah, he's got a new album coming out called Blessings and Miracles. And
okay.
Yeah, so, and it's going to be from what I've read, it sounds like it's going to be the usual, Carlos Santana stew. You're going to have rock, jazz, folk, some Latin American, Afro-Caribbean stuff in it. And so. Okay, lastly but not leastly, back in the 1960s, we thought of Eric Clapton as God. At least that's what the graffiti said on the walls. And then Eric's star got a little tarnished when he went on a racist, drunken rant at a concert. And then it's been diminished a little bit further here during the pandemic because he's taken an anti-vax stand and such. And one of Eric's complaints is that he's now being ghosted, by all his old friends. So apparently they don't want to have anything to do with him over his stand. course, Van Morrison is still hanging with him. And Eric went out on tour. And before he did that tour, he famously announced that he was not going to play at any venues where vaccinations was required. And and he said, unless there was a provision made for all people to attend, I reserve the right to cancel the show. And he said he was not going to perform before a discriminated audience. Well, now we can add hypocrite to Eric's many other attributes. As he performed recently in New Orleans at I got to look up the name of this place, the Smoothie King the Smoothie King Center in New Orleans.
Smoothie King Center.
Yes. Now,
is that by any chance it used to be called the Superdome? Is that the same venue, or is that?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. I'll check. I'll look.
Yeah, I need to check on that. But I do want to digress for a moment.
Go ahead.
This naming of facilities after corporations has got to stop. Okay?
Oh, I know. You don't know where they are or what they are anymore.
I mean, can you imagine back in the day saying, "Yeah, man, I saw the Dead." At Fillmore, can you imagine saying, "Yeah, I saw the Dead at Smoothie King," man? It just doesn't have this thing. Anyway, the arena required all staff to be vaccinated. They required all of the people in attendance to either be vaccinated or show proof of a very, very recent negative COVID test. And then masks were required inside unless you were eating and drinking. So for the entire concert, from Neil's, I've got Neil Young on my mind. Sorry, guys. From Eric's opening song to his closer, people were in masks. So anyway, Eric seemed to overturn the stand that he took. We are assuming, and this is an assumption, that Eric was able to find some wiggle room, because saying that you could attend if you had a recent COVID test was his loophole for saying, well, they didn't discriminate against everybody.
That's what a lot of them are saying. Yeah. Well, yeah, okay, yeah. I said my piece. On Clapton a couple of 3 weeks ago with the release of that single that he had. It's like, whatever, dude.
Yeah,
do what you need to do.
Lost a lot of respect for Clapton.
Just frickin' get vaccinated and shut up.
Well, he is vaccinated. He is vaccinated.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But he claimed that he had a really severe reaction to it, and his hands were paralyzed and all sorts of things.
Okay.
But
just the Smoothie King Center is adjacent to the Superdome, and it is the home of the New Orleans Voodoo of the Arena Football League, and also the New Orleans Pelicans of the National Basketball Association. So there you have it.
Yeah.
Smoothie King Center. Was that so he's saying it's okay as long as you can get in with a positive or with a negative test, then that's okay.
Yeah, well, that's not Eric saying that. That's the assumption.
But okay.
That he had said if the vaccine is mandated, he won't perform.
Yeah.
And so the assumption is that with the venue allowing people to come in if they show the negative test, that was enough of a loophole to Eric to get by his, if it's mandatory vaccine, I won't perform. But,
okay.
And I think he's ending up his tour, Scott, in your backyard. Either already has or will be very soon. So I think the last show on his tour date is down in Florida.
Well, Florida's a pretty big state. My backyard is kind of small, so.
Yeah, but I think it's in your area somewhere in Florida.
Eric Clapton in Florida. Okay, let's see what we can find there in Florida. You know what? He's going to be at the. I remember seeing this. He's going to be at the Hard Rock Live, which is the big tribal Seminole casino. About 10 miles. 10 miles. Yeah.
So there's your big chance to go check out some anemic white boy blues.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah. Oh, the other, since we're on Clapton real quickly, the other hypocrite label somebody threw out at it recently is this is the guy that, made his nut covering all kinds of black blues performers, but then he gets up on stage and does a rant about immigrants. So kind of a double standard there.
I disagree with a lot of things that Eric Clapton does, including the music that he plays. So never been a fan, and even less of one now.
Anyway, those are the items that I have. I'll kick it off to either of you gentlemen if you got something.
D, what you got for us?
Okay, just one classic news note from this side of the state, and that the Rolling Stones are resuming their tour, or that part of the tour which was canceled last year, and they're kicking it off in St. Louis tonight, and they'll be performing at America Center. And I take that back. Let me take the Enterprise Center where the Blues play hockey. I believe it's sold out. And Mick, I'm sorry. Let me also say that the drummer that replaced the recently deceased Charlie Watts is Steve Jordan, who is no stranger to the Stones. He's done some work with other bands. And so I guess after an appropriate time of bereavement, the Stones want to fulfill their commitment, and they're ready to rock out. And Mick Jagger arrived in St. Louis a day early, and I believe he posed in front of the arch just to engender himself with the locals, I guess. So,
well, I'm sure he's been. I'm sure there's local news channels have probably run that photo, right? Has he done any local interviews or anything?
not that I know of.
Yeah.
Not that I know of.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
So that's it. The Stones keep rocking without Charlie Watts, and but they're keeping their commitment to their fans. So I'll have to find out from a friend if they play any new songs, but I don't expect that they will.
Yeah, probably not. A Stone show is a Stone show. We all know by now what a Stone show is, right? I guess they'll probably do some sort of tribute to Charlie. I would imagine that they would do that.
I would think so.
Yeah. Speaking of reunion shows, I guess Genesis kicked off their reunion tour last week in England somewhere. It was Tuesday night or Wednesday night. I forget what night. One day earlier last week. And several videos that I show have turned up on YouTube. And it's a little shocking because Phil Collins is in really bad shape. You know what? I did pull a clip.
She's a lady, she is mine. Oh, precious, she is mine. She is a lady. To know your heart today.
He's looking pretty old there, huh?
Wait a minute, wasn't that Peter Gabriel in Mass?
Oh! I showed the wrong clip. Oh yeah.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, that was the Genesis lead singer. That was Peter Gabriel back in the early 70s.
Oh, Scotty's got some editing to do.
Now I've lost everything. Yeah, to you, my soul. The of all that I've been before escapes you in this world of night.
Yeah, he didn't. As far as I can tell, he never moved from that chair the whole show. Even during the long instrumental passages that Genesis does, he just kind of sat in the chair and did a little bit of air drumming, just to fill in the time. It's really sad to see, I think. And there are a lot of Genesis fans. I was reading the comments of some of these clips on YouTube that a lot of Genesis fans are going, "Why is he doing this?" You know, it's just, you know, he really looks bad. He really looks bad. He doesn't sound good. He doesn't look good. And if you notice, I don't know if you noticed in that clip, there was a guy standing backstage behind him, and from that one camera angle, you could see the guy standing behind him and singing some of the parts that Collins just can't do anymore. And yeah, it's really sad. I don't know how long this tour is. It's going to be a while, but I don't know if he's going to make it.
Yeah, I mean,
really
I understand his willingness to, sing before fans, but I know he's got severe arthritis in his hand. That's why he can't even hold a drumstick.
Yeah, severe arthritis in his hands and his back and in his neck. He's had neck and back surgeries, and yeah, so he can barely move. And there were a couple times on a couple of these video clips where I did see where, like, when they were showing Daryl Sturmer playing a long guitar solo, and then they would and then the camera would go back center stage, and here Collins would be with his cane walking back from backstage and walking back to take a seat again in his chair. So he did get up and take a break. It looks like at least once or twice, but there are a lot of clips where during the instrumental sections where Collins was just sitting there. Sometimes that the chair rotated, and he would turn around and his back to the audience, and he was like air drumming. His son is playing the drums right behind him, and he was sitting there air drumming his son and just watching his son perform. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about it. To me,
It's almost borderline,
it's sad.
it's very sad.
And I kind of wonder if, is this really how you want to go out? Is this what you want people to remember? And that's kind of my problem with it.
Yeah, it's almost a little too, I don't want to say not lurid, but it's his struggling makes it painful for, I think, anybody watching it. I mean,
dovetailing on that, last week Dan talked about the Roots and Blues Festival up at Columbia, and I was there in 2013 and got to see Johnny Winter, and I've always loved Winter's music, and so I was really looking forward to that show. And Johnny was brought out on stage with people on either side of him supporting him to help him walk across the stage. And they put him in a chair at the front of the stage. And he was in the chair the entire concert, playing guitar and singing. And he was rail thin, incredibly frail. And it was a little disconcerting, but, still a great guitarist and still did a good job singing and such. And I left the show going, man, that was kind of an embarrassment. But I kind of changed my perspective, because later on, he died the following year, so it wasn't long before his death. Then that was followed by a documentary called Johnny Winter, Down and Dirty, and it covered the last 2 or 3 years of Winter's life. And he lived with horrible drug addictions and things. And to get him off of his heroin and stuff, they got him on methadone. Well, then he got so worked out on methadone that he wasn't even functioning. And a friend of his, another fellow guitarist, got Johnny off of the methadone, got him cleaned up, got him to where he was actually a functioning person again, and was able to go out on tour. So, he spent the last couple of years of his life being able to perform again. So in the end, it was a very redemptive story, even though it was kind of shocking to see how frail he was. That story at least had a beautiful redemption part to it.
Yeah, but and I remember I had the same. I had a similar encounter. A similar experience, whatever. Back in the mid '70s, I saw Elvis Presley's, like, his second or third to the last concert that he performed. Like, it was in the spring before he died that summer. It was in Springfield, Missouri, at the Hammond Center, and it wasn't that bad. I mean, Elvis was, he's wearing his Vegas jumpsuit and his protruding middle was there, and his face was all fat, pockmarked and stuff. And he did okay. I mean, it was a good show. It was an entertaining show. But the one thing I remember about the show in particular is that, like Collins had there, he had a guy, one of his singers that was on stage would jump in and hit all the notes that Elvis just couldn't hit anymore. And I remember coming away from that concert thinking that this it isn't Elvis anymore. It's like the classic, what'd you think of Elvis? It's just, it was just really kind of sad to see that, but it wasn't nearly as bad as what we saw with Phil Collins here. And I don't know, it's just, but I walk away from that now, and this was decades ago, 5 decades ago, when somebody says Elvis Presley, that's what I remember about Elvis Presley, is that, and that's kind of what I'm saying here. Like you're saying, the Johnny Winter show, people who saw that show or saw that's what their image of Johnny Winter is going to be, and this is going to be what people's image of Phil Collins is going to be. And to me, that's just that, I guess, it's a personal thing. I understand it's a personal thing, but for people who were big fans of his, I mean, I wasn't a big fan of his from his 80 days when he had his most success. I was a fan of his as Phil Collins as a drummer with Genesis, but in the Peter Gabriel days, but still I was kind of a fan. And it just, and to me, and I know his really diehard fans are just that, they're split on it. They're, some of them are saying, it's great to see him out there giving it his all and giving it his best and, trying and everything. But there are others that are saying that this is destroying his legacy. I don't know. It's a debate that could go on forever. There's no right answer to it. But my first reaction was one of sadness, not one of joy.
I'm not a big Genesis fan, nor am I a Phil Collins fan, but that clip you just showed, I think he should have stayed home.
It's like it just looks like it looked like that character from the Tales from the Crypt, and that's what it looks like, and the other thing is, and he can't sing anymore. I mean, his voice isn't even there anymore. I mean, if he could sit there in his chair and still belt them out like he used to, because man, he could belt, he could sing. And
he was a good singer. I will.
And I watched enough of those. Clips. There's a lot of them on YouTube. If people want to go check it out. But I watched enough of those to know that he doesn't have it there anymore. It's like every now and then he can kind of get through a verse or chorus, but most of the time his voice is shot. It's not there either.
I hate to quote Kenny Rogers, but you got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them.
Yeah.
If I wasn't old and fat, I'd still be riding up in that captain's seat on a fire truck. So
anyway, I just wanted to show that it's good luck, Phil. I hope you're still around a little longer. I hope you make it through the tour.
Yeah,
I kind of have my doubts after seeing that, whether it's going to be possible or not. Anyway. Okay, let me move on. Let me get to the anniversaries. I've gotten a little sad. Let me try to let me try to get with some fun stuff, like today being the anniversary of a guy who died of a heart attack.
You're really going to lighten the mood there, Scotty.
We lighten the mood. 18 years ago today was the death from heart attack of Robert Palmer in Paris, France. I remember this was quite a shock when it happened, because he was still pretty active and on top of his game when it happened. It was so sudden. It was shocking, I remember. But Robert Palmer, as you remember, he was a member of the Power Station and Vinegar Joe. He also a solo artist with the iconic video of the song "Addicted to Love," and he also had a hit in 1986. He also had a big hit in 1988 with "Simply Irresistible." So most of us remember him. 18 years ago today. And on Monday, 57 years ago, Monday was the TV debut on the Ed Sullivan Show of the Beach Boys, where they performed their first number one single, "I Get Around."
Get around.
Also Monday, and here's a story I'd never heard before. You remember Rory Storm, right? Rory Storm was Rory Storm and Hurricanes, which was, and the reason we remember him is because that was Ringo's band, and Ringo played in Rory Storm and the Hurricanes, right? 49 years ago, on 27 September 1972, Rory Storm died at age 32 after taking an overdose of sleeping pills and a suicide pact with his mother.
Okay.
Yeah, I never heard that story before. Anyway, Rory Storm was the leader of Rory Storm and Hurricanes, which was Ringo's band before he joined the Beatles. Monday is the 42nd anniversary of the death of guitarist Jimmy McCulloch, formerly of Stone the Crows, Thunderclap Newman, and Wings.
Yeah.
He was on the number one single in 1969 by Thunderclap Newman, "Something in the Air." I think we all remember that one. McCulloch was just 16 years old when he recorded that tune. He was at the time he was the youngest musician ever to perform on a number one single at the time. Also on Monday, the 17th anniversary of Phil Spector being charged with murder in the February 3rd, 2003 shooting of actress Lana Clarkson. He was eventually convicted 5 years later in April 2009 and sentenced to 19 years to life in the California state prison system. Guy who did some work with John Lennon, early in John Lennon's career, and also was a producer of Let It Be album.
And also he's credited with the Wall of Sound in the mid '60s.
Right. He was legendary. He was a legendary producer before he even worked with the Beatles. Also on Monday is the 10th anniversary of Tony Bennett becoming the oldest living person to ever top the U.S. album chart. He was 85 years old when Duets 2 went to number one. That was an album he recorded with collaborators such as Amy Winehouse and Lady Gaga. It also happened to be the first U.S. Number one that he ever had in his career. He smashed the record. He smashed that record. Previously, the oldest performer to hit number one on the album charts was Bob Dylan, when he was 67 years old in 2009, when his album Together Through Life hit number one. Also Monday, the 3rd anniversary of the death of Marty Balin, formerly of Jefferson Airplane, founder of Jefferson Airplane and Jefferson Starship. Tuesday, 20th anniversary of the death of Miles Davis, trumpeter, bandleader, and composer. Wednesday will be the 86th birthday of Jerry Lee Lewis. I'm jumping the gun on the birthday here. He'll be 86 years old on Wednesday, but the reason I'm bringing it up an anniversary is because it's the anniversary of his 41st birthday, when during a party he and a few friends were having a little fun and shooting holes in office doors and things. Well, one of his shots went awry and hit his bass player Norman Owens in the chest. Yeah, just some old rock and rollers having a little bit of fun.
Or shades of a former vice president.
Owen survived it, but he later sued his boss and got a multi-million-dollar settlement out of that deal. Wednesday, 32 years ago, on 29 September 1989, the boss, Bruce Springsteen, was riding on his motorbike from Los Angeles, just taking a road trip, and landed in Prescott, Arizona, where he just walked in and decided to step up on stage at Matt's Saloon in Prescott and just kind of started jamming with the house band that was there. He played a bunch of rock and roll songs. Elvis Presley's "Don't Be Cruel." They did Chuck Berry's "Sweet Little 16." They did the theme from Route 66. And when Bruce was there, he found out that they were in the middle of doing a fundraiser for one of the barmaids who had been sick and was in the hospital, and they were doing a fundraiser. It just so happened they were doing a fundraiser to help pay this barmaid's medical expenses. So Bruce wrote him a check for $100,000 and said, "Thanks, guys. Had a good day," and got in his motorbike and continued on his journey.
Class act.
That's a cool story.
Yeah.
Wednesday is the second anniversary of the death of Mac Davis, country music singer, songwriter, actor. He wrote Elvis Presley hits "Memories," "In the Ghetto," "Don't Cry Daddy," "A Little Less Conversation." He had a big hit himself in the 70s with "Baby, Baby, Don't Get Hooked on Me."
Yeah.
And he had his own variety show. He was a friend of Burt Reynolds, turned up in a couple of Burt Reynolds movies at the time. He was pretty big in the 70s, I remember. Also, who died the same day 2 years ago was Helen Reddy, "I Am Woman." I didn't remember that. I remember they died. I didn't remember they died in the same day. My story, I remember two famous people died in the same day, was back in about 2007, 2008. I remember Farrah Fawcett died, right, in the morning, and it became news. It came across, everybody was talking about it. Then all of a sudden, everybody dropped that story because later that afternoon is when we found out that Michael Jackson died. So, so Farrah's death kind of got pushed back.
Yeah, I could see how Michael would knock her off the front page.
Yeah, I knocked her out of the headlines, right? But anyway, that was 2 years ago Wednesday, the death of both Mac Davis and Helen Reddy. Thursday, 56 years ago, will be the U.S. television debut on the show Shindig. I know Dan remembers that because Dee and I used to talk about the show Shindig when we were.
Yeah.
56 years ago Thursday was the U.S. television debut on Shindig of singer Donovan. Remember Donovan? Season of the Witch.
Sure.
Yellow,
Season of the Witch.
Atlantis, yeah.
Atlantis, and
Yeah, he's one of my favorites.
was with the Beatles when they went to India.
Right, exactly. Yep. Donovan Leitch. I think he has one or two kids that are very successful actors these days. Anyway, Donovan appeared on the show Shindig. Also on that show were the Hollies, the Turtles, and the Dave Clark Five.
Not a bad lineup.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, I would like that. I would like to see the tape of that show. Okay, on Saturday will be the 4th anniversary of the day that Tom Petty was found unconscious and unresponsive in his home. He was in cardiac arrest and not breathing. Remember this is like, kind of morbid really, but I kind of remember this happening where we heard that this happened, that he was found unresponsive and everything, but I think there was some debate over when he actually died. Remember that the announcement came across that he died, and then like a day later it said, well, no, he actually isn't dead yet, but he's still in a hospital. Remember all that? So I don't remember exactly what day he died, but Saturday is the 4th anniversary of the day that he was found in cardiac arrest and unconscious. Birthdays. I'm sorry.
Oh, never mind. Didn't he suffer a broken hip and was taking medication to get over that, and something got out of whack?
Exactly. He took a little. Yeah, he was going out on tour, and his hip was hurting, and so he just started taking pain pills for his hip, and he overdid the pain pills, and he, it ended up.
Wasn't there also maybe an element that he was kind of like at home and nobody knew this was going on for a long time?
Right. Well, yeah, the same thing happened with Prince.
Right.
Same thing. Okay, birthdays. Today is the 76th anniversary of the aforementioned Brian Ferry, formerly a founder of Roxy Music, and has had a long, distinguished solo career. He's still working, still recording albums, touring. 76 years old today. Also today is the 73rd birthday of Olivia Newton-John. Well known for the songs You're the One That I Want from the movie Grease and Physical and other hits. She was pretty big in late 70s, early 80s. Monday will be the 78th birthday of Guess Who founder Randy Bachman, also the founder of Bachman Turner Overdrive. You Ain't Seen Nothing Yet was his big song. He was also with the Guess Who when they had their biggest successes, American Woman, These Eyes. Monday will be the 74th anniversary, 74th birthday of musician, singer, songwriter, record producer Marvin Lee Aday. Bob,
Also
you were a big
known
fan,
as-
right?
Yep. Also known as Meatloaf.
Meatloaf, right. Bad Out of Hell. Yeah, and also I don't know how many people remember this, but Meatloaf had a supporting role as a pretty key supporting role, big supporting role in one of my favorite movies of all time, Fight Club.
Horror Picture Show.
Well, no, he just had one scene in Rocky Horror Picture Show, but no, I'm talking about the movie Fight Club.
You're right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Sorry, I
but,
jumped the gun on you there.
Yeah, he was kind of the fourth or fifth lead in that movie. He got some good screen time. He had a good role in that. But he didn't appear in that as Meatloaf. He was credited in the movie Fight Club as Marvin Aday. Yeah.
He also did a movie, The Roadie. Is that what I'm thinking of?
Well, yeah, he did a few movies, but I think Fight Club was his biggest role.
I'm probably the only human being on the planet who hasn't seen Fight Club. So.
You never seen Fight Club?
Never have.
Oh
no.
my God, one of my favorite movies ever. I love that movie.
I saw the movie. It was a first date for a gal. She goes, "Oh, let's go see this." I had no idea.
Oh yeah.
But it was memorable for
Yeah, probably not a first date movie. I would.
Well, it was like, okay, I think after this we need to get a drink. So
That may explain why Dan's had lots of first dates, but not many second dates. So, sorry, Dan, couldn't resist.
I have an even better first date movie story than that. I took a first date to see the movie Alien. And this is when I was living in Pryor, Oklahoma, outside of Texas. I took her to see Alien, and I remember when the one scene came, the most famous scene of Alien, where the thing just jumps out of that guy's chest, right? Remember that? When that happened, all of a sudden she just jumps out of her chair and goes running up the aisle and back in the lobby. It's like, no, she wanted no part of this. There was no second date. There was no second date.
Yeah. Can I throw in a first date story?
Sure.
Quickly. I was a junior in college, and there was a girl that was in the apartment complex where I lived, and I loaned my car to her so she could go to the laundromat. And I get the car back, and I don't know, a day or so later, I noticed that she had left. They were clean, but she had apparently a pair of her panties had fallen out of the laundry basket, and they were on the floor of my car. So I was like, I just grabbed them, threw them in the glove compartment, and totally forgot about them. And then I get this date, and we're driving across town, and I didn't know where we were going as far as the address. So I told her, I said, "Hey, there's a map in the glove compartment." Just pops up in the glove compartment, and there's a pair of panties there in the glove compartment. And yeah, didn't get a second date. Did not leave a good impression.
She thought this guy must be a player.
Yeah.
Bob, you should check out Fight Club.
Yeah, I guess I'm gonna have, it's on one of it's my bucket list thing. I'll get around to it.
That was a good one. Brad Pitt was great in it. Edward Norton was great in it. It was a great story. Helena Bonham Carter. I fell in love with Helena Bonham Carter in this movie, and I'm not going to give any spoilers, obviously, or anything like that. But after that, your second or third or fourth viewing of the movie Fight Club, you will have a totally different perspective and see the character of that Helena Bonham Carter plays. You'll see her character in a completely different light throughout this whole movie after the first time that you'd seen the movie.
But you realize what you're doing here now, Scott.
What?
You're violating the first rule of Fight Club. You're talking about Fight Club.
There you go. Yep, you're right. I should have remembered that.
Very good.
Monday, and I also read the novel after I saw the movie. I read the novel after I saw the movie, and the novel was good, but I really liked the movie. Monday will be the 63rd birthday, 63, big 6'3", Sean Cassidy. Teen Idol Sean Cassidy, to do Run Run. That was a long time ago when he was a teen idol, but still, it's like when I hear that these former teen idols are now like in their 60s, it's like, oh my God.
Was he the younger brother of David Cassidy?
He was a younger brother of David Cassidy. Yes, he was. Son of what's her name? The mother. Jack Cassidy was the father. What was the mother's name?
Yeah, Jack Cassidy. Oh,
It was an actress, wasn't it?
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, actually, I might be thinking of David Cassidy's TV mom. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Monday will be the 37th birthday of Canadian singer Avril Lavigne, who was big in the late 90s, early 2000s. She was one of those girls, singer-songwriters that hit it big back in the 90s. She was the youngest female to top the charts. She was 17 years and 3 months when her single girlfriend went #1. Okay, Tuesday, 119 years ago, Tuesday, Ed Sullivan was born. Ed Sullivan, who will forever be a rock god.
Well,
Right?
you know that Ed Sullivan was a newspaper columnist before he became an impresario show host, which, he rubbed shoulders with everybody.
He rubbed shoulders with the Beatles. He rubbed shoulders with the Doors, with the Stones, the Sunday Night Variety Show. He rubbed shoulders with Topo Gigio. all kinds of ventriloquists and puppets and
people with spinning plates and
that's right. Exactly.
But seriously, back in that era, man, that was a lot of times the only time you'd ever see a visual of your bands. Yeah.
Absolutely. It was huge. He brought the Beatles to America. He gave America their first look at the Beatles. He will always be remembered for that. He will always be remembered as he gave America he gave the first nationwide look to Elvis Presley.
I remember NPR put together a documentary for one of their pledge drive things, and it was just all of the musical acts that had been on Ed Sullivan. And I remember I was watching it, and Marissa, my daughter, happened to come down and got captivated by it and just sat there and watched the entire thing, seeing all of these old rock and roll performers.
I would love to see that. I would love to see that. Ed Sullivan, really big shoe. We have a really big shoe over here tonight. Ed died in 1974. Wow, I didn't realize it was that long ago. He would have been, he was 72 when he died in 1974. Wow.
When did he go off the air?
It wasn't too long. It wasn't too long before that. I mean, it was shortly after he went off the air when he died. And I don't I don't remember the story. I don't remember exactly what happened, but it very well that his show went off the air, maybe because he
Health
couldn't do it
reasons.
anymore, maybe in poor health. I don't remember. I'm just kind of guessing now. Yeah, okay. Also on Tuesday is the 78th birthday of Nick St. Nicholas. He was a former bassist from Steppenwolf. Nick St. Nicholas, he was actually the founding member of Jack London and the Sparrows, which was this Canadian band. Nick St. Nicholas was a founding member, and their lead singer quit or got fired or died or something. Anyway, they lost their lead singer, so Nick St. Nicholas went out and found this guy named John Kay and hired John Kay to be the lead singer of the Sparrows. Well, then the Sparrows eventually morphed into Steppenwolf, but before Steppenwolf recorded their first album, Nick St. Nicholas went off and did something else. He wasn't with Steppenwolf when they recorded their first album. But then John Kay became the star of Steppenwolf. And then, as we talked about before, John Kay at some point became the boss, and he kept running off bass players and guitarists all the time. And so at some point, Kay asked Nick St. Nicholas to come back to Steppenwolf, and St. Nicholas did. And then he appeared on the albums At Your Birthday Party, which was our third album, and Monster, which was our fourth album. Well, after Monster was recorded, then John Kay got pissed at him for something and fired him. He went on his way, and they got a different bass player. Anyway, happy birthday to Nick St. Nicholas. Wednesday will be the 82nd birthday would have been the 82nd birthday of singer-songwriter Tommy Boyce. Remember him, Boyce and Hart? I wonder what she's doing tonight. The Last Train to Clarksville, I'm Not Your Stepping Stone, and the always memorable tune, Scooby-Doo, Where Are You?
Yes, step out for a second here.
Tommy Boyce, he committed suicide in 1994. Wednesday will be the 73rd birthday of former Grand Funk Railroad frontman Mark Farner, former lead singer and bassist, who Bob and I saw in concert a few years later.
Yeah, way back in the day.
Yep. He was billed as Mark Farner of Grand Funk. He could not officially use the name Grand Funk.
With Scott, I'll call back. I will.
I'm going to give Dee a minute here. So Dee, you missed that Wednesday will be the 73rd birthday of Mark Farner, formerly of Grand Funk Railroad.
It is important.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Wednesday will be the 63rd birthday of Mick Harvey. He was a guy. He was a long time with Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, and he's also a longtime corroborator of with Polly Jean Harvey of PJ Harvey. Thursday will be the 88th birthday of Sissy Houston, who had a pretty good career herself with Dionne. She worked with Dionne Warwick, Chaka Khan, Aretha Franklin, Elvis, Luther Vandross, David Bowie, Jimi Hendrix, Van Morrison, Beyonce, and many others, as they say. Despite all that, she will always be remembered as the mother of Whitney Houston. Right? Her good long career got overshadowed by her daughters. Thursday will be the 86th birthday of U.S. singer Johnny Mathis. Huge in the 50s and 60s, into the 70s. Also Thursday, the 78th birthday of Marilyn McCoo of the Fifth Dimension.
Yeah.
Right? You don't have to be a star. Aquarius.
Yeah, two of the members from Fifth Dimension were from St. Louis. I think Billy Davis and the other male singer. Yeah, but that's just
I
trivia.
think Marilyn McCoo might have been from St. Louis, if I remember. I don't have it in front of me, but I seem to remember that actually. Anyway, happy birthday to Marilyn McCoo. Also, that same day on Thursday would have been the 74th birthday of Mark Bolan, who died in that September 1977 in a car accident a couple of weeks before his 30th birthday. Friday will be would have been the 91st birthday of Richard Harris. Remember Richard Harris?
I left the cake out in the rain.
Yeah, MacArthur Park.
He left that cake out in the rain. And,
Man called horse.
He died in 2002. Friday will be the 86th birthday of our old friend Julie Andrews. Mary Poppins, Sound of Music.
There is a hilarious meme of her, and it's a still from The Sound of Music, and it's got her, with her guitar and all the kids sitting around her, and the balloon caption reads, "Well, I woke up this morning and I got myself a beer."
Yeah, it's funny. Sometime in the 80s, she was married to movie director Blake Edwards of
Right.
Panther fame,
Mhm.
and they did a movie together. He directed and she starred in a movie. It wasn't a musical movie. She mostly did musical, but this was a dramatic role. I don't remember the name of the movie. I didn't note it down because I just remembered this just now. In the mid 80s, and she did a nude scene in this movie. And I remember it was a huge, it was big headlines when
Yes,
this.
it was.
I think the movie was Victor Victoria.
Victor Victoria, yeah.
Was it Victor?
Yes, it was.
No.
Yeah. Yes, it was. Yeah. Victor Victoria. And yeah, it was and she did a news movie where she took her shirt off and bared her breasts. I remember that.
I'll tell you one good movie she did with her and James Garner was The Americanization of Emily. And it's about, he played a naval public relations officer. So yeah, I related to that.
Bob, are you looking that up?
Yes, I am.
Okay. I'm pretty sure, I'm almost certain that was the movie.
Nope, the movie was called SOB.
SOB. I do remember that now.
Yeah. And it was it was actually a movie about making a movie. And
That's right. That's right. Victor Victoria was a movie it was a musical that Julie Andrews starred in, directed by Blake Edwards. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm sorry about that. SOB.
no problem.
Yep, SOB.
I'm just here to be your conscience.
Yeah. I'm going to blame D for that one. D led me astray.
Yeah, I know that.
I remember back in the day, D doing a lot of that.
Victor Victoria was the movie where it was about, she was
Cross-dressing or
she had
cross-dressing thing. Yeah, SOB was a movie about the movie industry. That's the one where she bared her breasts. Okay. Friday will be the 74th birthday of Martin Turner. He was remember the band Wishbone Ash with the twin guitar attacks.
Mm-hmm.
Martin Turner was one of the twin guitar of that attack. The other one was a guy named Andy Powell. But anyway, Martin Turner will be 74 years old on Friday. I saw them in concert. They put on a pretty good show. Friday will be the 73rd birthday of Mariska Veres, Veres. Maybe it's Veres, but I think it's Mariska Veres. She was the lead singer of one of the most famous one-hit wonders ever, Venus by the Shocking Blue. She was the
Yeah.
lead singer,
Yeah.
Mariska Veers. She would have been 73 on Friday. She died in 2006 at age 59. That was funny until I saw the video of this song just within the last couple of years for the first time ever. And that was the first time I ever knew that was a woman singing that song. I always thought it was a guy singing that song. Friday will be the 73rd birthday of Cub Coda, who was a guitarist of Brownsville Station, Smoking in the Boys' Room. And Bob, I particularly bring this up because you and I went and saw a show with Mark Farner, where Mark Farner was a headliner.
Correct.
Back in the 80s at this old basketball arena where you and I and about 30 or 40 other people were there. And remember, that was a show where Mountain was supposed to be there, and that Mountain didn't show up. Iron Butterfly was there.
Yes.
And there was a fourth band, and I've been saying that the fourth band was Savoy Brown, and you were saying that didn't seem right to me. That didn't seem right. I said, I don't think it was Savoy Brown. I'm going, I think it was. I'm not real sure, but I think it was. But then when I saw this, I remembered that band, that fourth band was Brownsville Station. It wasn't Savoy Brown. Does that sound right to you?
You know, to be honest with you, it really doesn't, because it's been stuck in my mind that the other band was Sugarloaf.
I'm sure it wasn't Sugarloaf.
I don't
Because
know why.
I was a big fan of Sugarloaf, and I would have remembered that.
Well, see, I would have remembered Brownsville Station because they're one of my guilty pleasures.
Okay. Well, okay. So I guess that question will never be.
We're still not resolved on that
I've tried
one.
to look it up online. I can't find it, but then when I saw this item, then I became convinced that it wasn't.
I looked it up too, and
Brownsville Station. So who knows?
I know I've
A
seen
long time
Sugarloaf,
ago.
and it might have been another one of those,
Yeah.
let's get the old guys together and put some bands together for a tour.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Friday will be the 62nd birthday of Youssou N'Dour, the Senegalese. How do you say it? He was from Senegal. Singer and percussionist from Senegal, who did a lot of work back in the 80s and into the 90s with Peter Gabriel and Paul Simon and Springsteen. He did some work with Sting. Saturday will be the 76th birthday of Don McLean, American Pie. Also Saturday, the 72nd birthday of Richard Hell of the Voidoids, one of the great punk gods from the late 70s, with the landmark album Blank Generation. And his most famous song probably was "Love Comes in Spurts." I don't know if you remember that. Saturday will be the 71st birthday of Genesis guitarist and bassist Mike Rutherford, who also had a side project called Mike and the Mechanics that was pretty successful in the 80s. Saturday will be the 70th birthday of former frontman from the Police, Gordon Sumner, also known as Sting. Saturday will be the 66th birthday of Phil Oakey. Phil Oakey was the lead singer and a songwriter with the Human League, who was pretty big back in the 80s. They had a big hit with a song "Don't You Want Me." Remember, it was Phil Oakey and a couple of female singers in a band, and called the Human League. And the Human League is actually still working. It's still Oakey and the two girls are still working as the Human League. They're still recording albums and touring. I just saw a video of them recently, and they're still working. Also on Saturday, October the 2nd, will be the 50th birthday of another former teen idol. Teen pop star, not so much teen idol, but teen pop star, Tiffany Darwish. She was the one who gained fame by she used to tour shopping malls and sing in shopping malls, and she got famous doing that. And then had a few hit singles with she covered the old Tommy James and the Shondells hit, I Think We're Alone Now. Remember that?
Yeah.
And that she had big with that at about the same time that Billy Idol hit with Moni Moni. It's like all of a sudden Tommy James was fighting himself at the top of the charts back in that one year. Anyway, I just learned this, that Tiffany, who will be 50 years old on Saturday, she has been recording albums and touring all along. She never went away. In fact, she's currently on tour right now promoting her 11th album, which will be released on Friday, the day before her 50th birthday. It's called Shadows. So everybody look for Shadows.
You must have a dedicated fan base.
Must have, because she's still working. I went and looked at her discography, and she releases a new album every 3 or 4 or 5 years. She's never gone away. Which was surprising, because that was just a name that I thought, well, you know, she just had a couple of hit singles and then bye-bye,
Yeah.
you know, go be a mom and, you know, do whatever. But nope, she's continued working. So there it is, anniversaries and birthdays for the week of September 26th of 2021. Anybody else have anything before we wrap this up?
Yeah, I got a couple of things I want to segue back to real quickly.
Okay.
Robert Palmer. I want to acknowledge Robert Palmer putting together one of the best fake female bands for music video ever. Back in the day.
That was such an iconic video. Yeah,
Yes, it was.
yeah,
Back in the day,
that was one of the most memorable videos from the MTV age.
Yep. Back in the day, back when MTV still did music.
Yep.
Yeah.
And not that anybody else anywhere in the whole wide world is going to care, but I did a quick Google thing, and Scott, I think you might have been right about Savoy Brown. As I found a tour date back from February 3rd, 1985, where Mark Farner, Iron Butterfly, and Savoy Brown appeared in Louisville, Kentucky.
Well, that must have been it. That must have been it,
because that would have been about the time that we would have seen.
Well,
them.
yeah, been about the time, and and I'm sure that was the same tour. Yeah,
It must have been the same tour.
Yeah, Mountain was supposed to be on that tour,
Right.
but they backed out at the last. In fact, I remember we went to the concert expecting to see Mountain, or we may have found out just was like a couple hours beforehand. But
you know,
up until the very last minute,
Mountain might have been. I don't know if it was really Mountain or more Leslie West, but anyway, they might well have been part of the tour and then dropped out of it completely because they weren't on the bill for that Louisville show. But it certainly seems like Savoy Brown was the third band. So you were right.
Okay. Well, you convinced me that maybe I wasn't, so that's why I thought maybe it was Brownsville Station.
Savoy Brown just did not strike a chord with me, but I guess you're right.
Okay. All righty. Well, thanks everybody for joining us yet again for another look at the news. We'll be back next Sunday with another edition of Geezerology Gazette, and join us on Wednesday. The three of us will be back on Wednesday to have a look at Jackson Browne's new album, which was just released a couple months ago, called Downhill from Everywhere, I think is the title of that. So we'll be talking about that Wednesday. And until then, so long, everybody.
Have a good week.
Have a good one.